loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past.
Self-improvement is a lifelong process. Welcome to Make It Last podcast. I'm your host, Noreen Deal. It's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. And we're going to be having this conversation with Kevin McCarney. He's an author, and we're going to be talking about how is self-improvement a lifelong process. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
When you just hear the word self-improvement, though, Kevin, what comes to mind?
So many things for me personally. I think self-improvement is a thought process that we're never done. We're never complete. We're always learning, and even if we've learned a certain aspect or certain vocabulary, we're going to be going into different situations, and we're going to be learning something new. I think one of my favorite lessons on my own personal self-improvement, which one of the genesis of the book, is when I was I grew up in Hollywood. I got a job at Grauman's Chinese Theater, and I was handling the big crowds over there at 18 years old. And then I got a job at Universal Studios, being a tour guide, going around the circles. And I thought, oh, this is great. By that time I was 19. All I have to do is repeat the same thing all the time. This is easy. I don't really have to think. This is all I got to do. Talk to people, which was something I could do. And then I was doing kind of taking it easy, just doing that, and then having my life go out with my friends and that. And then this one tour, and I never forgot this. It was very, very hot day, over 100 degrees in Universal Studios, and the trams were breaking down. And all of a sudden, what used to be a 35, 40-minute wait to get on the trams and go around was a 3-hour wait in the sun. This is years ago, before all the sunshades were as popular. And so I get the microphone I'm in a very air-conditioned break room, and I get, Kevin, tram on the right. Take it, it's yours. It's a group from Europe. They're not very happy. Good luck. Right? So, okay. So I go out and I try to say hello to everybody on the tram on the way down. Everybody, arms crossed, and they were not in a mood to have anybody be nice to them. Okay. Then I go to my seat in the very front, and the leader grabs me, says, take us back to our bus. We do not want to do this anymore. You can't do this to us. You cannot, just take us directly to our bus. And I looked at him and I said, sir, I can't do anything about that. Sit down, please, because we're going to start moving. And the driver started moving the tram. So again, it's a really hot day. And I'm thinking to myself, I asked the guy to sit down. He says, fine. He says, we'll sit down, but we will not have a good time. We will not enjoy this tour. Right. So I'm a snarky 19-year-old kid who thinks, I know how to talk. I know what I'm doing. Right. And I'm thinking, you know what? That's not fair to me. They disrespected me now. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm just going to give them a terrible tour, because I have the microphone. They're inside this tram. And I'm just not going to give them a good tour. I wasn't going to give it a bad, just wasn't going to make it as good. And kind of lackluster. Then I noticed something. I never, in the front row of the second car, there was a family of 4 from the Midwest, because they had their T-shirts on for the Midwest football team. And they got mixed in with this group from Europe. And they had smiles on their face. They were they'd been in the same sun, that was obvious. But they had smiles on their face. They were so smiling. And they just had big smiles. And I looked at them, and I didn't realize I had this in me. I honestly, until that moment, from a self-improvement standpoint, when you recognize that, oh, wait a minute, in a split second, I changed from wanting to give a very poor tour to wanting to give these people the best tour I could. In a split second. So they gave me permission to give a great tour. 20 minutes into the tour, even the people from the other group around them started coming along and having a good time. And then by the time we got over, everybody was having a good time, except for maybe the group leader, which nothing I could do about that. And all of a sudden, and it gave me a round of applause, which I did not expect, but everybody had a good time because I ignored the 124 negative people around these 4 positive people. And I changed from wanting to give a poor tour because those other people had disrespected me. They were rude. And then this family changed everything. So I said goodbye to the people from Europe. They sighed and they said, "Oh, thank you very, very much." But the family from the Midwest had stayed and waited to talk to me. And they came up and I looked at them, and I'll never forget that the dad says, "You really turned that group around. They were not in a good place." I go, "Well, actually, you turned this group around because it was your smiles that gave me permission to give a great tour." And I said, I was going to give a completely different tour and it wasn't going to make anybody happy. And the mom got my shoulder. She says, "Well, thank you very much for giving us that tour. Thank you for choosing to give us that tour, because this is the only time we can afford to come to California. And it just made our vacation." At the same time, I'm watching the very last car of the tram, one of my supervisors getting off because he was supervising this tour. And it's a good metaphor for life. Somebody's always watching you, right? But at the same time, I had the ability to give these people a horrible time, terrible time, because of the other people around them.
Yes.
And how unfair is that? And so I went back to the break room and I told some people about this. I said, "This is life-changing." I said, in a split second, I went from being a jerk to being a tour guide that wanted to connect with these people. How's that possible? So that's when I started thinking about the brain and relationships. Every relationship I was in, I had the choice that I could make in that moment to either satisfy my little brain, which is that impulsive little, I want to get even brain, right? And get back is a big part of little brain. Little brain always wants to get back. Somebody says something, you want to say something back. And get back is almost a part of the culture sometimes today, where people want to get back at somebody just because somebody around them said something. In this case, I would have been so wrong, and I would have missed out on a wonderful opportunity because of that mother's choice. You chose. I chose to give that tour because these people had a smile. So many times in life, I think, no matter what is happening in relationships, we still have that choice in how we're going to respond. Are we going to respond to the positive, or are we going to react to the negative?
There's some of us who have the growth mindset, and for us, self-improvement is a lifelong process. We're going to take a short break while we get a word from our partners.
Photography is an art, but more so, photography must come from the heart. Precious moments, priceless times. Take a pic and know it will turn out fine.
BMC Photography JA, beautiful moments captured. Let's go.
For all your events, such as educational forums, workshops, book launches, weddings, and more, contact Noreen Daly, the ultimate MC and event host. Visit noreendaly.com or follow her on Instagram at Noreen Daly Jam. Noreen Daly, creating long-lasting memories.
Does your business lack branding? Having difficulty realizing your vision? Look no further. Splinth Brand Design Consultancy specializes in developing personal and business brands. Services include strategic management, website creation, social media branding, and more. Visit them online at www.wearesplint.com. Splinth, the brand you need to succeed.
Are you looking for one-of-a-kind products customized to suit your needs? Then shop at Trending Things, the place where customization is always an option. From personalized gifts to apparel, accessories, drinkware, and home decor, you name it, we make it. Get your favorite designs on any item for party favors, weddings, graduations, or any special occasion, all at affordable prices. What are you waiting for? Visit our website at trendingthings.com to order your trendy item today. Trending Things, bringing creativity to the things you love.
Is self-improvement an elusive concept, or is it something that you actually think that you can do? Let's continue the conversation. Do you think it's because then of your life experiences, why it is that you're always seeking how to then improve on your relationships? Do you think it's because of the industry that you're in, just your own life experiences? Because somebody might be watching this or listening to this and they're thinking, Kevin or Noreen, it's well and good for you to say that, but with everything that I have going on, I'm just comforted how I am. I don't see, and people at my age, people just need to accept me how I am. Go ahead.
I think we all have that phase that we go through, and I think it's totally natural. I think that it's not easy, and I don't want to make it oversimplified that this is easy, but
Right.
I do want to make it easy to understand that it is still our choice. And I think so much of what happens in our lives, gives us permission to do certain things. But if we really grasp this, and listen, I visited my brother in prison several times because he kept making wrong choices, bad choices on things. And, I had the same upbringing that he did. I didn't choose what he chose. He chose that way because that's what he wanted to do. It made it easier for him. And he had maybe a little more difficult because he was older than me. He was one of the first ones. So, it was difficult. But all throughout life, it becomes in relationships with my wife, with my daughters, it's a choice. And if we can recognize that we have a choice, especially when the pressure's on, especially when things aren't going well. And as a dad, I really, really had to learn this so hard. I was under a Christmas tree, putting up connecting the lights, and I couldn't see anything except my daughter. She was 5 at the time, going up the ladder. And I couldn't, and I said, Caitlin, get down from there, right? Perfect, easy parental voice. Caitlin, get down from there. And then she says, but Daddy, right? And I can't see what she's doing. I can't see other than her little feet going up the ladder. And she goes up the next rung of the ladder. And I'm perplexed. I go, wait, Caitlin, right? So I raise my voice. Caitlin, get down from there, right? It's just natural for us to do that. And she says, but Daddy. And then she goes to the next rung of the ladder. And I get out from under the tree. I'm ready to launch with a little brain, and all of a sudden I see she's holding an angel in her hand. And she wants to put it on the top of the tree. It was so obvious to me right then. And I look at her and I go, Caitlin, you got to get down from there. It's dangerous. And my 5-year-old daughter said these words: I like that tone better, Daddy. So in a self-improvement standpoint, from my relationship with my daughter standpoint, I was floored. I thought, wow, I didn't realize both of them were smarter than me. But she said, when she said that, it was like, wow, that's something big. And so I ended up helping her to the top of the tree, going behind her and helping her put on the tree. And I think it was one of those moments where I was letting my little brain, parental excuse for escalating, whatever it is, because that's what I've seen other people do. And because other people done that, well, then that's what I'll do. And what other people done becomes cliche, and it becomes easy access responses, reactions for us. Oh, somebody else said this, so I don't know what to say right now, so I'll fill in with what somebody else said, right? Even though it may not fit this moment, I'll just fill in. So from a parenting standpoint, it really helped me.
Okay. There are other ways of labeling it, because some people might look at it to say, well, it's rather than saying I'm going to see self-improvement as a lifelong process, is the whole idea of having a growth mindset. Do you see it as one and the same, or do you see that there is a distinction?
It might be evolutionary in terms of where they are, and younger self-improvement, where the growth mindset becomes a little bit different. I love the idea of the growth mindset, because I get so much, I feel so good when I've learned something, and when and that's where the growth mindset is. You're learning something. It's a new skill, a new talent. You're meeting new people. You're meeting. You're understanding new cultures. You're understanding that mindset growth of like, wow, it's fascinating, and I think it's evolutionary for all of us to go from that. But I love the growth mindset. That's a great one.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up, if it is that I am still somewhat skeptical after hearing all of what you just said, and bordering on being cynical, what's the one thing, if you've said so much and somebody is still cynical, what's the one idea you'd want them to leave with from this conversation?
I think the most important thing is that we don't always have to have the answer right away. We don't always have to be immediately ready to answer the moments in life that present themselves. And sometimes that's where we have to look at ideas of, people talk about mindfulness as a culture thing. Mindfulness, the concept of neutral is mindfulness in a practical sense. If you get to know, mindfulness is understanding and thinking about the moment you're in a sense. And to me, I like the idea. I appreciate all that, but I've always wanted to make whatever I'm talking about very practical for anybody to take. Mindfulness can take people in different directions. And to me, it is being about, take a moment for yourself. You control everything. You control your responses. You control your reactions. You have control. It's up to you. Nobody else has that. Don't let anybody instigate you into a reaction that's going to change your life. And it's easier said than done, but with practice, you can get better at it. And like I said, I'm learning, I know half the book really well, right? You can figure out which half, and I'm working on the other half.
Okay. So as we're wrapping up, in answer to the question, how is self-improvement a lifelong process? When you then respond to that and say that is about trying to ensure that you're mindful, would you sum it up as just ensuring that one just make a deliberate attempt to be mindful in their relationships?
Absolutely. It's going to serve you well. If you're thinking about what the other person is going through, they're having empathy for who they are and what they're going through, at the same time trying to be who you are, and not just acquiesce to everything else, but be who you are, but be mindful that other people are different. Other people may they may be in a different frame of mind. They may have a completely different life. So you can't really put your ideas on that. But mindfulness, I know that's the word, but it's knowing that mindfulness is really about you having control. It's about you. It's not about somebody else telling you what to think. It's about you telling yourself how you want to think.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Noreen.
Yes, yes. This was Make It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationship, not just with ourselves, with other people. Until next time.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives,